Today, I'll be explaining the most efficient way to use and how to obtain every single major currency inside of Arknights Endfield. That includes Oroberyls, Arsenal tickets, credits, Origeometry, AIC Quota, Bond Quota, Endpoint Quota, and stock bills. Timestamps in the description below, though. If you use it, you owe a subscribe to the channel. First, let's start with stock bills. So if we press Y over here, we can see 3 tabs: Outpost Management, Stock Redistribution, and Depot Node. In Outpost Management, over here, you can actually trade certain goods that you craft within the factory for stock bills. I'm not going to teach you how to make these inside of the guide. That would make this a 2-hour guide. But what I'll show you is that I can trade various goods over here that I'm crafting for my factory in exchange for stock bills. The other large source of you acquiring stock bills comes from the depot node over here. There's actually a few. If you go over here and you press pack goods, you can go ahead and stock up these crates with various goods, and then you'll go on delivery jobs where you can get stock bills from that. A trick for these is that you can actually transfer these jobs to other people, though there is a chance that they do not complete it for you, so you lose the stock bills. I just do it anyway because I'm a little lazy. If you go back over here to jobs transferred, you'll see that whenever the job is done, you'll end up acquiring the stock bills over here. Another source of you getting those stock bills are going to be from the second tab, list of delivery jobs. Over here, you can accept jobs from other people that are transferring, much like we just did. Unfortunately, I've already done all my jobs for the day, so I can't actually showcase this. I think you can imagine you just accept this like you do your normal delivery jobs at the depot nodes, and then you go ahead and turn these in. They'll also give you credits, which is the next system we'll explain. Because you can't teleport while doing these, if you want an optimal zipline route, you can check out my optimized dailies guide. I go over both the zipline routes and just dailies you should be doing as a whole. The last method of acquiring stock bills before we talk about how to spend them is going to be from the elastic goods over here in stock redistribution. You'll see over here that you have a certain amount of goods you can purchase per day that resets based on your regional development. The goods over here are going to be either increased in price or decreased in price relative to the normal, which is 2,000. Now you have 2 options for these, depending on whether or not you want to play the long game. What you can do is you can take the lowest price one and then wait for a day where your friend's price are much higher so you can sell to them. The other option is to go over here and press friend's price and look for the ones that have the biggest differential. In this case, this one is 256. If we go back to this one is 313. So out of all these, this is going to be my best bet to buy. I'm going to buy these anyway. These ones I've been sitting on for a while as I bought them extremely low, but did not sell them yet. In order for me to sell them, I can click on the good, I can press friend's price, and then over here, I will go to the friends with the highest thing. Once you enter the friendship, you go walk over to the left over here, and this is their stock redistribution terminal. I can't speak. And you can go ahead and sell your goods like so. And I just made 1.7 million. Now that you understand how to actually acquire stock bills, let's talk about what you should optimally spend them on. Inside of stock redistribution, you'll see that there are various goods that are discounted and will reset after a certain timer. In the case of engraving permits, which are very necessary, they reset weekly. And you have some of these, like these, that are 50% off. In the early game, I would not recommend going for those as they're way too expensive and you're not going to run out of engraving permits relative to the amount of sanity we have in the late game anyway. So here's what I recommend instead. In the early game, you should buy the extremely discounted character materials that you see over here. These are going to make your progression in the early game that much better, especially if you're someone who does not have much time. If you're someone who can't explore the open world too much, you don't get too many materials from that, you're going to find yourself sanity gated. Doubly so if you're investing in multiple teams. I would recommend getting these. There's also weapons over here that are pretty good to get as well. Cohesive Traction if you want a free-to-play option for Aviwena. Port Maker is a good option for Akakuri. And then Seeker of the Dark Lung over here that I already bought is a free-to-play option for Last Right. Once you've bought out the character materials and you have whatever weapons you want, you could also buy out the standard banner pulls over here too. Maybe I can get you some duplicates of 5 stars that you want, or maybe it can just get you bond quota, which we'll talk about later on. If you want help in the open world, there's the detectors and compasses over here that help you find chests and Orlean in the open world respectively. The lowest tier don't reset daily, but you're gonna run out of these eventually anyway, so just buy them as you need them. If you want help exploring the open world, this is how you do it. I wouldn't think too much about it. They're pretty cheap. Outside of that, once you get into the later stages of the game, you'll find yourself buying this set of engraving permits, the cheaper one at the very least, weekly. There will come a point where you're not using them all, as using 12 means you have to use 80 times 12 stamina, which is what, 960? Dude, I don't want to math. I just woke up. Once you've already bought out all the super cheap mats, you can also buy these mats over here. These will help you level so much faster too. Currently, I don't actually need any of these 3, so I'm holding on to it for now. But if I were to need, say, the character ascension materials, the yellow ones that you'll see, then I could buy these and use that for that. If I run out of T credits, I could buy these. So all of these are good. You're going to buy out this factory eventually anyway. Down here, there's also gifts you can buy. Gifts are used to give your operators trust inside of the Zhong, so you can grab these over here. These are just going to give your operators their various main stat attribute. So in the case of DPS characters, that can be pretty useful. That said, there is a trick to gain trust without gifting. If you assign characters to your control nexus over here, you'll actually increase their trust. So you can see my Levitane's now at 100. That's why those skills were unlocked. So what I can do is I can look over here and see if there's a character I want trust on. In my case, I think Arclight is cool. So let's go ahead and throw Arclight in here. We can throw Levitane back over here. Now you understand stock bills, how to acquire them, and what you should spend them on. Let me give you some tips in order to get more stock bills. Over by these sub PACs, many of them you'll see this early warning terminal. If you interact with these and do the tower defense system inside of here, doing auto defense specifically, you'll notice that, actually my webcam is covering it, you'll get a stock bill bonus earning chance over here, up to 20% for the max rank. If you want some extra stock bills, you find yourself running out, this is an easy way for you to get extra stock bills. Another tip is doing the delivery jobs that I mentioned over here. These are extra stock bills you can get outside of your world, doing up to 3 a day. You want to do these for credits, which we'll talk about next, as it's a very important system that gives you not only arsenal tickets, but Oroberyls as well. The last way to get yourself more stock bills is this over here. And each one of these outposts, you can actually assign an operator. If you read these over here, it'll tell you exactly what they give you for assigning the operators here. So in my case, Levitane has a 20% chance of giving more outpost prosperity, which is useless for me because I have everything maxed out. This one has a 20% chance of giving me more stock bills, and this one also has a 20% chance of me getting more stock bills. So I have 2 of these passives that have more stock bills. I don't have a character that has 3 passives that give me stock bills, so I can't use that. So we're sticking with Levitane for now. Hopefully that was a good introduction to stock bills. If you're liking the video so far, like, comment, and subscribe. Let's get on to the most underrated system in the game, the credit store. Here inside the credit store, you can buy various goods. Mainly these are character materials and whatnot, but you can also get Oroberyls and you can also get arsenal tickets in here. So this is an extremely important system to do. It's one of the few sources of daily Oroberyls we actually have. You also probably don't understand how to get the most out of this, so let me explain it to you. First, let's talk about how to actually get credits, then I'll talk about the optimal way to spend them. You'll see down over here in the bottom left corner, you can collect credits. You get 300 of these a day, up to 360, claiming that if people sell goods in your Dejong. There are a ton of other methods of you getting credits as well. Some of those are the clue exchange, which we'll bring up in a bit. Some of those are the delivery nodes, which we talked about just not too long ago. And the last method is you providing assists to various teammates. Let's talk about the clue exchange and assists first. Before that, we need to go back to Dejong. So you can either go to this room over here, or you can just press I and interact with it. I'd argue the reception room is the most important room inside of Dejong. This over here is how you get clues. You can see current progress, you can exchange clues over here. What you do is you assign operators over here, and they'll gradually get these clues. These clues, you'll pin them on your wall, and as you pin them on your wall, if you get all 7 of these, you'll get a massive influx of credits. If you have one that's already on your wall, what you can do instead is you can send them to your friends. So in my case, I have 2, number 5 and number 7 over here. What I'll do is I'll send these over to my friends, and as I do that, you can see the plus 40 in the top right. I just gained some extra credits. Banger. That also means my friends can send them to me. Unfortunately, my friends hate me, just like real life, and so I have nothing I can put over here for 4 and 6. That's something that'll cook up over the course of a few days. So let's show you other methods of getting credit. You go over here to your friends tab, you'll see their Dejong has various icons over here. The yellow ones are the clue exchange. These are the main ones you want to be aiming for. You can provide up to 5 clue assists per day. And as you're doing these clue assists, you'll be doing the other assists anyway, so you shouldn't really worry too much about those. You go over here and you press clue exchange right there. You can see plus 50 credits. And these other ones will give you credits as well. You can see plus 20 for these. So what we're going to do is we're going to speed run through all of these. I'm not going to show that because that's a waste of your time, but basically just go to your friend's ship that have the yellow icon. Then when they have the yellow icon, you do the clue exchange over here. The last place of you getting credits is in the depot node over here, the delivery jobs. We talked about this a few times already, so I'm not going to harp on it too much. Now that you understand how to actually acquire credits, let's talk about the optimal way to spend them, as most people are doing this insanely wrong. So when we're over here, you'll see goods are discounted. What you should do is you should buy the super discounted ones, and then you want to refresh down here. This refreshing not only gives you a chance to get more discounted ones, but it also gives you the chance of getting Oroberyls or getting arsenal tickets. So we're going to refresh over here, and we'll see just like that, Oroberyls. It's exactly what we want. We got that. We have 602 credits left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy all 3 of these, and then we're going to refresh again. Now, keep in mind, the Oroberyls and the arsenal tickets can technically be above 400, so it's a little bit risky for me to refresh right there. And yeah, that kind of sucks. I could have just not bought the stuff. I could have left it at plus 400 going to the next one. What I can do here now is I can hope that by the end of the day, I end up getting enough credits from the clue exchange over here to be able to get that, as the clue exchange over here will give me like plus 300 or something. So what I'll do is I'll wait now and I'll see if I get that. And if I don't, then I'll buy out the rest of the stuff in the shop. Another tip you can do with the credits is you can actually hold on to 300 per day and carry those over into the next day. What that means is you just want to spend any of the overcap you have before you go into the next day, so you can have that extra credits in case you start rolling and you need the extra credits for arsenal tickets or Oroberyls, or even like good discounted stuff like these. Speaking of Oroberyls, let's talk about that next. Oroberyls are used mainly for pulling on character banners. You can technically spend these on sanity, but if you're a free-to-play player and you do that, and I want you to look me in the eyes as I say this, you're a fucking idiot. Let's talk about all the major ways to farm Oroberyls. If you press F8 and you go to node over here, you'll notice every single time you do these node rewards, you gain 750 Oroberyls. This is a huge source of these as you get 12. That's almost 20 pulls straight up. If you go over here to training, you'll notice every single one of these training nodes, you get an additional 20. If you go to simulation challenges over here, you can actually auto-complete every single one of these simulations for 25 each, as well as the ones over in Wuling. You also gain Oroberyls for first-time rewards for all of these index things. You can see right here, first-time rewards. You can see right here, the energy alluviums, first-time rewards. The largest and most important source of Oroberyls is going to be the open worlds, going for these chests over here. Now, I'm obviously not going to go over every single location of every chest. I'm sure there's videos out there for that. But what I will show you is that within the game, you can buy these items called detectors with your stock bills, a currency we'll talk about later. These detectors will actually show you where chests are on the map. So if you ever feel lost later on in the game, you can use this to go ahead and track where a chest is. You can see I press track there and it'll show me exactly the location of that chest. Very helpful. One of the other largest sources of Oroberyls comes from you actually leveling up your authority level. As you can see over here, as you level up, you will gain Oroberyls as rewards. Scaling up higher, the higher your levels go. If you press F7, you'll also see that over here in your events, you can get Oroberyls as well. Things like quests will give you Oroberyls over here. You can see an event over here for doing Wuling stuff gave me Oroberyls. I highly suggest you end up doing all of those. One last major source of getting Oroberyls outside of the repeatable stuff is inside of Dejong. If you go to this room in Dejong, this little circular thing, you can talk to this girl, Akito. Over here in Edgebase, you can see you get a ton of Oroberyls that I actually haven't done yet. You also get standard banner pulls as well as a good amount of character materials. So I'd recommend doing this. Though, I will say, I hate this place with a passion. Those are the major non-repeatable sources of Oroberyls. Let's talk about the repeatable sources. Dailies are your biggest source of repeatable Oroberyls. Dailies give 200, which results in one pull every 2.5 days. The fastest way for you to do dailies is to log into the game, spend your sanity, kill some enemies, which you do while spending your sanity, and then assembling a gear one time. The second major repeatable way of getting Oroberyls is your weeklies over here. If you go to your events tab, you'll see them. You'll see that as you progress along these missions, you'll get more Oroberyls. Now, I believe these actually change weekly. I'm not 100% sure, as I don't think we had Umbral Monument in there yet, as it wasn't in the game. Because of that, I can't actually give you what the optimal way to do this is, so you'll have to check out on these every single time they come up. The last source of repeatable Oroberyls is from the credit store. We just went into depth about that, so if you skipped ahead to this part, make sure you go back to that to figure out how to do Oroberyls and just a ton of level up mats. I mentioned it before, but you should only spend your Oroberyls on pulling on the limited banners. I repeat, do not use Oroberyls to refresh your sanity. That is a complete waste of Oroberyls, and unless you're a whale, it is a terrible idea. Pulls are a limited resource for free-to-play players, so that's why I keep stressing it. Tangentially related to Oroberyls is Origeometry. You can actually convert these into Oroberyls, but I would not recommend that until you come over here and buy the second tier of Battle Pass. The second tier of Battle Pass will not only refund every single piece of Origeometry you have spent for it, it will even give you an additional 3 bag, on top of giving you all of the rewards you see right here. The number one most important thing you do with your Origeometry is to buy this Battle Pass and make sure you have enough Origeometry to buy the next one as well. Please do not be stupid as a free-to-play player and make it so you can't invest in the free tier of the Battle Pass. It's just free materials, it's free Origeometry, it's free Battle Pass weapons. You literally get a 6-star weapon in here that is actually serviceable. The weapon in here is only about 13% worse than Levitane's signature. You're going to see one of your biggest sources for Origeometry if you go over to the TP points over here and press submit Oroberyls. Oroberyls are those little balls that you'll see all across the map. Just like we had a compass for the chest earlier, you have one of those for Oroberyls as well that you can buy for stock bills. Over here, you see as you turn in the Oroberyls, both in Valley 4 and in Wuling, you will get Origeometry 3 per level. You also obtain Origeometry from the main story quest, which I'm currently done with, so I can't actually showcase. The last place you can gain Origeometry as a free-to-play player is from the sub-energy alluviums across the map. There actually used to be one right here, but I've done every single one in my world, so I can't actually demonstrate it. You've definitely seen them before if you played the game. They're the blue radiating energy fields that you'll find scattered across various maps. As I mentioned before, you want to make sure that you buy the free tier of the battle pass over here first with the Origeometry. Then you want to make sure that you have 29 of the Origeometry left over so you can buy the next battle pass. And from there, if you really want to, you can spend these on pulls. Though I have been told that in the original Arknights, you used to be able to trade this currency for skins, so that could be a feature they add in the future. Next up are arsenal tickets. These are used to pull on the weapon banners inside of Arknights Endfield. As you can see over here, you need 1980 to do a 10 pull on the limited banner. If you do 8 of these 10 pulls, you're guaranteed to get the limited weapon. You can also use the arsenal tickets to buy stuff down here, which in the current state of the game can technically be value, but if we're being realistic, you don't really need this stuff to clear anything in the current state of the game anyway, so it's not really value. If you're even considering doing that and you're saying you don't need these limited weapons, I would suggest probably just saving them. Since a lot of people are confused about the weapon banner, it's important to note that there is a 4% chance of obtaining a 6-star on it, but it is a 25/75 to be the limited or the on-banner weapon rather, because some of these aren't actually limited. So how do you actually obtain arsenal ticket? Well, let me show you. If I go over here and I do a pull, you'll see right there in the top left, I gain bonus rewards 20 arsenal tickets. I need Arknights to shut up. Oh my god. The rates of you actually acquiring these arsenal tickets are 20 for the 4-star characters, 200 for the 5-star characters, and 2,000 if you get a 6-star character. And as you saw there, yes, you can obtain these from the standard banner pulls as well. So you don't necessarily need to spend your limited pulls in order to get them. Another way for you to obtain arsenal tickets is from the paid version of the battle pass over here, because of course it's a gacha game. They're trying to make as much money as possible. You also do gain arsenal tickets from the weeklies over here. As you can see, if you go to the max level, you get 100. And the last source of them, the credits system. As you pull on the limited banners, you'll also gain bond quota, AIC quota, and potentially endpoint quota. So let's go ahead and explain all 3 of these. Bond quota is something you obtain from getting duplicates of either 5 or 6-star characters. If you press the details down in the bottom left, you can see right here, you gain 10 for getting a duplicate of a 5-star character and 50 for getting a duplicate of a 6-star character. That means for every 2.5 5-star operators you pull, you'll be able to get one of these chartered headhunter permits. Now, people have been pretty confused about whether or not they should buy the Mark of Perseverances over here, or if they should just save for the limited pulls. As a free-to-play player, I'd highly recommend you only go for limited pulls. In games like this, limited pulls are all that really matters. And as far as the Mark of Perseverances are concerned, you don't even need them in the game currently either. Though, even if you did, let me show you something. It should be pretty obvious that you're not going to level literally every single skill for every single character. So on supports, for example, you're only going to potentially even need the levels for one of the skills. In Gilberta's case, her ultimate gains susceptibility on the first use of the crown, meaning you don't even have to go fully maxing out all 3 of those crowns in order to gain the max susceptibility, which is where most of the value of her ultimate comes in. That means on Gilberta, you're only using a singular crown. You only need 1. Even for DPS characters, the bulk of Aviwana's damage, for example, comes from her ultimate and her EX. So if you're leveling up something, it's going to be one of those 2. That means that you don't really have to invest into her combo skill, because as you see here, that's only an 11% multiplier on a 13-second cooldown. That's basically nothing. Over here in the battle pass, you'll also know that you gain 6 of these from the free paid version, the 2nd tier, the one you get with the Origeometry, meaning you'll have at least enough to max out a single skill. On top of that, as we've seen earlier, you actually even get some of these marks of perseverance from the events. So I would just not recommend getting that. I would highly recommend you only spend on the headhunter permit. Next up, AIC Quota. AIC Quota is much like bond quota. You're going to get these from duplicates as well, but specifically, they're actually duplicates of max starred characters. You can see right here, I have my Akakuri at max potential. And because I have her at max potential, any duplicate I get of her will end up giving me extra AIC quota. The amount of AIC quota you get depends on the star of that operator. So in the case of 4 stars over here, you get 5. In the case of 5 stars, you gain 20. And in the case of 6 stars, which we will talk about later, you actually get endpoint quota instead. As far as the AIC quota is concerned, however, the main thing you want to use these to buy are the limited Henhunter permit. Because you can get 5 of these per rotation of banner, and they cost 70 per, that means you need 350 to be able to buy the next tier. As a free-to-play player, I would probably only recommend that you pick these up and nothing else. I would also highly recommend that you end up getting these even if you do not want to pull on that character's banner. Why? Well, it is true that the 120 spark does not carry over from banner to banner. It's also true that the 80 pity does. What that means is any pulls you do on this banner, the 50-50 system will carry over to the next banner. In my case, I've done 16 pulls on this banner, right? So I have 64 attempts left to get Gilberta. That means when this banner shifts from Gilberta into Yvonne, I'll still have 64 pulls left to be able to get that 50-50. Now that's obviously a 50-50 and not a guarantee, but you are increasing the odds and lessening the amount of pulls that you'll have to actually spend in order to try and get that 50-50, lessening the total overall pulls that you have to spend as a whole. Also, if you end up doing this throughout multiple banners, there becomes an increasingly likely chance that you get 2 of these 6-star pities if you fail both 50-50s before the 120 guarantee. Why is that? Soft pity in this game starts at 65. If you do this method for say 3 banners, that means you're going to essentially be starting at 15 pity. That means you only need 50 pulls to get into that soft pity area, making it more likely you hit a 50-50 around that time. From there, if you fail your 50-50 early, and you do another, say, 65 pulls or whatever, and you fail your 50-50 again, you're going to be extremely close to the spark on the banner. Now, don't get it twisted. That's a pretty unlikely scenario. That assumes you just lost 2 50-50s on the banner. And it also assumes you're proccing that 50-50 early on in the soft pity. But the point is still this. You're just losing out on efficiency if you're not spending on these banners, as you're going to proc that 50-50 earlier within the banner with other actual tickets. That means make sure, especially as a free-to-play, you're buying these out and pulling on the banners, even if you don't want that character. As a side note, an extension to that, you also do get the limited pulls from stuff like this, so you might as well spend those on the banners for the same exact reason as well. The last currency over here is the Endpoint Quota. These are mainly made for whales. If you get duplicates of 6-star characters that are already maxed out, you can buy one of the standard weapons if you get 2 of them. Now, the most efficient ones out of these are obviously just the signatures, because they're so much harder to pull than these ones, which you can guarantee on everything. I'm not gonna lie, I don't really have too much to say there. I don't think this is gonna apply to 99.9999999% of people anyway. If you like this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to help out the channel. You can check out my optimized dailies guide right here, or you can check out my beginner guide for Arknights Endfield right here.